but he is doing a bit of rebranding on his channel, changing up the format a little bit, and we're kind of talking about different topics. We're just going to kind of chitty chat a little bit and go back. One of the ones I thought of was how we reinvent our virtual online and like real life, we structure ourselves. Because Geek, thanks so much for coming on today, Geek. Appreciate it.
No, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Not a problem. So, anyway, I had seen your video you put up. What was this week? Feels like this week or almost a week. And in the video that you posted, you were just talking about kind of like reinventing the channel a little bit, but at the same time staying with certain themes and finding out what works for the channel. But what finally kind of gave? I know you gave your reasons in the video a little bit, but what was that final like moment where you're like, you know what, I just need to do something different? What was that moment of, I guess, the change?
Just, and I know it's probably gonna sound bad, but boredom, like monotony. I hate monotony. I really do hate. Just I went from doing a little bit of everything to focusing all on one thing, and after a while, I just got burnt out. Like, you can only watch so much of the same stuff before you start feeling like you're faking what you're doing, like reactions wise and stuff. Like, because you get to that point where you build a base and then you get expectations from that fan base, and it's like, but I always tried to stay true and honest, with my stuff. It's just how many times can I watch the same stuff over and over and make the reaction different,
Right.
And then it was like I started to feel like I lost myself because this was not where I wanted to be with my channel. I don't mind being diverse. I just don't like being centralized on one particular thing. My mind's too scattered. I have too much going on where, like I said, 2 weeks it might be one thing, and another 2 weeks it might be another thing. But to just, and then it started to feel like because of the demand, the requests are coming in. I mean, I got to a point I was 300 requests backlogged, and I'm like, God, I'm never going to catch up.
Holy crap.
I need a break. And then trying to feel like you're trying to please everybody, but not yourself at the same time.
Right.
And
that happens frequently.
And then, like, family-wise, I had some issues going on with my family and my kids, and it's like, I look at my channel and I look at the uploads and I look at the stuff and I'm like, where is my time better needed right now?
Right.
Do I spend more time appeasing these people or spend more time with my family? And then trying to just find that balance. I did. You guys joked about it. I dove headfirst in. 12, 13, 14, 16, 20 videos a day sometimes.
Dude,
it's just
and what it is that's that need to meet the requirements of the audience. So it's like, you have requests, and in your brain you're like, okay, well, this makes sense to do this, and then it's popping out those videos, but then that starts to wear down on just, I don't know, for me, emotionally, for me, I'd be totally wiped after doing so many videos in a day, and then just being like, okay, holy shit. And it's an endless cycle, because you could keep going and going with that, especially having X amount of requests still pending. I think when channels are trying to reinvent themselves a little bit, or restructure, I guess, and doing a bit of a reset, it's healthy, number one. And two, you have to find what works. And, my biggest complaint is that for me, or like, I've helped a lot of people, with like little things on channels and things like that, and they'll tell me the vision they have, and all of a sudden it's like they don't stay dedicated to any vision, so the channel just goes off the rails and it doesn't go anywhere because the person themselves has to be focused on what their goal is. And so it's good to have a reinvention or a reset button, so you have a direction for whatever purpose that is. If it's something that you love doing, who gives a shit? Have fun. If it's something that you're wanting to build up to a brand and like actually like build that channel, it's good to have that goal. But otherwise you're just chasing your tail, So yeah, I see resets and what do you call it? Reinventing someone's your online persona and kind of laying it all out there as a way of resetting. But I also saw that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Shenanigans on Twitter, sir. I was like, what the?
Oh,
And
are we referring to like a few days ago?
yes, we are. I was like,
Oh my
I
goodness.
had no
Yeah.
idea. And somebody else brought it to
I,
me.
I, in hindsight, I went back and looked. I'm like, yeah, that can definitely be taken the wrong way. I did not iron that one out enough. And it's like, with Jeremy, I mean, just a few days before, I mean, we're joking back and forth. He's liking
Right.
my tweets. I'm like his tweets. We're joking about the whole thing with that other channel. They were having issues with. I'm not gonna name drop that shit. That's their drama. You know.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna poke some fun, and then boom, goddamn, this escalated quickly.
And that was like when I was watching it, I went, okay. And Perp is the one that let me know. He's like, hey, uh, Jeremy and Geek are going back and forth, and I was like, I was an hour, 30 minutes late, something like that. And I was like, what the hell? So I go, I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And I'm reading through, and then there was a tweet somebody had posted about, well, I think this is him. I know it wasn't you. It was another person we know
Yeah,
that had made a comment on a video regarding that Star Wars girl, or it was on, excuse me, Facebook, and essentially trying to almost in a sense dox you. And I was like,
wait, say that. Do what? Dox me?
well, yeah, it was a screenshot of a comment by a person that we do know, um, and it was a comment that it was just a screenshot, and Jeremy's like, "Is that him?" And the person's like, "Well, I think it is," and blah 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 blah. I recognize the icon and all this other shit. It wasn't you, um,
Yeah, I
and
know who you're talking about.
yeah, but the
So
the name of the person was there was no blurring of the name on the shot on the Facebook
yeah,
post, and I was like, oh, that's not good. Like you don't.
yeah. He had informed me of his shenanigans.
Okay,
I didn't condone none of it. I didn't.
right,
I had no part in it. He just showed up when he's like, yeah, I just felt like I had to say something. I'm like, okay,
right. And so when like they posted that,
that's just,
I saw it and I was like, that's not Geek. That's someone else. I didn't say
yeah.
anything because I was just like nobody else was like,
That's why, like, when that business came out from Jeremy about my comment on her video, and and I'm like, look, what this comment? If I
right,
said it, I own up to it. That's
right,
my thing. I don't
right,
back down. I'm just you got something to say about it. Well, then let's talk about it. And guess what? I don't know where this comment is. Last time I checked, it's not there anymore.
right,
But hey, I've got it. Now the world can see it.
right,
So there is no he said, she said, this, that. Bro, this is
right,
what I said. Take it at face value, whatever you want to do with it. And hey, you know, and uh, like I said, I've never really had any issue with any of them. I just, I got a mouth.
you poke the
Sometimes
bear.
I let my mouth get the better of me.
Mhm.
I'm a little raw and how I say shit sometimes, and no filter. Probably should have a filter, but
Well, it's one of those things too where when you recognize it, you have it. Sometimes it's easy to have it under control, but online it's a
yeah,
lot easier to let it go. And I, you know, I've seen so much, I mean, from everybody, something like I did not expect them to say, or, something stirred up, like there was some kind of shit that went on that I wasn't aware of, like, meaning I came in or reading this conversation, like, not yours specifically, but let's say another conversation here and there where I'm like, where the fuck is this coming from? What has happened here that's instigated this reaction? And a lot of
yeah,
times it's like I had said to the eldest squirrel over here about that shit because he gets into that crap, and especially when he's gaming, you know how it goes, man.
oh
And
yeah,
and the mouth goes, and I'm like, listen, you're gonna end up on some kind of watch list at this point, because he starts gaming and saying shit. I'm like, listen, I'm like, take a step back and just look at it, and he's like, man, it's just so easy to let it go, just to get pissed off and just like go off. And I said that's the hardest part, especially with social media, because everybody's in that same boat to some degree, depending on what it is. I mean, I'm always watching what the hell I say because it's general paranoia of just general life. But at the same time, um, like I mean, not as what do you call it? Not filtering my opinion, more or less of being careful how far I go off, because I know my mouth. Um,
Yeah.
you know, you're a Taurus. I always make a joke about Tauruses. It's when you're heated, you're heated.
Uh,
You know,
yeah. That's been a challenge in life.
it's tough.
Trying to tame the beast, like, let me just step back for a minute.
And it's hard because I mean, okay, like I know a lot of people don't believe in that crap. I do, but not
Oh,
like,
of course. It's,
not
it's,
what do you call it? I don't believe in the horoscopes daily shit, but I do believe that there's personality traits that we carry. It's kind of off the wall stuff sometimes, but um, like I have a Taurus in my house right now, and he's the one with the project. Yeah, that little guy, and he was stubborn about it. I was like, why? You have this vision. Why didn't you want to get it done? And it was just that he wasn't interested. He was done with it well before it even began. And if the dedication isn't, the passion's not there from the beginning, it ain't gonna happen.
yeah.
And it's rough. So it's like forcing. You're a bull. It's the whole bull thing. You can't force a bull to do things that they don't want to do. So, and then at the same time though, when they're pissed off, holy shit, you just have to kind of go, well, I'm going to let the bull get mad. I'm going to stand over here safely behind this barricade and let it work itself out. And when he's done being pissed off and beating the shit out of whatever's in his path, then he'll calm down and things will be chill. Like the brain gets uncluttered. And yeah, I mean that's it, and that's the thing is like Twitter especially. There's a lot of puffing of the chest and stuff that go on. And, sometimes people just take things the wrong way and they don't understand. Tone is something that's not easily explained sometimes in tweets or emails and things like that. So you definitely, it's one of those things where somebody uses caps, they get offended.
Yeah. Like it's interesting because I'd like to know if Jeremy's a Taurus too, because I kind of got that feeling
Which is a good
like
question.
we were just butting horns. It was like,
I've seen Tauruses go at it like that. I'm like this, and the thing is like I may not agree with all of nobody's like everyone's gonna disagree with somebody and be like, well, I don't like the way they handled that, or I wouldn't have done it this way. But at the same time, it's like when it's emotionally driven on either side, even remotely, like that stubborn. Well, you're pushing, I'm pushing back, and it goes back, and that's that. It's the
yeah,
push and shove of well, let's say strong-minded or two different guys with a like they're going into that ego mode that comes up when you feel challenged, and it's like, wait a minute, man, I didn't mean it that way. Well, fuck you, and then it goes back and forth. You're like,
yeah,
miscommunication will happen very quickly. Just it's the temper, and it's. I have a Taurus in the house. That's all I can say, and I just let him. I don't bother him. When he's pissed, I leave him alone. I'm like, well, he's not. It's not that he's not going to get reprimanded, but I'm not going to go into it with
with,
him.
with the young little one, I was so thankful because we were looking at induction dates. She was gonna give birth, and it was like, can we push it away from the 14th, please? I'm like, I don't need two of them in my house.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like my eldest, he's an Aries, and holy shit. Um, I mean, he's a fire sign. Whatever it means, he has a bit of a temper and a mouth on him, but at least he thinks about it. Thank God. Whereas my middle son, he's just 100%. If he feels challenged, he is not having it. It's like, okay. And then the youngest daughter is a Capricorn. Bless her heart. Uh, and she has good days. She's very driven, very motivated. You know,
Yeah.
very motivated. And then when the like I said, with Tauruses are very passionate. So here, you know, what do you call it? With the little one, he challenges her all the time just to piss her off, and it works. It's a magical thing, and he knows it'll work. And then he just sits back and enjoys. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, and I know that's somewhat of sibling, but for him, it's that poking the bear to see if what they'll do if they say something or respond, and to get that conversation going, even if it's negative attention, it's still attention. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yep. I don't know how you were when you were a kid, but I'd imagine there was probably some rough days.
Out
So
of mouth, man. I didn't, Mike the Mouth. That's what everybody called me. I ran. Hey, I've gotten punched in the mouth a few times. Yeah.
and, it's a lot different too when you're young, but it's those things that we struggle with as adults are usually three times harder at certain points in childhood.
Yeah.
you know, um, it's it's weird how our personalities change. Like, we can remember when we're kids and how we develop into people, like, meaning those moments, that first time we got into our first fight, and the first time that we started, like, learning to stick up for ourselves or learning when to shut up. Those moments. But you remember those changing moments, and as time goes on, you don't even realize that at one point or another, let's say you were less, like I know I was super, super quiet when I was younger. And then I got into middle school and it was like Pandora's box, I just, and I got in trouble a lot. I was getting into all kinds of trouble. I don't know how to put it into that word. I didn't get arrested or anything, but I was certainly, uh, finding ways, finding ways not to get arrested, but still like doing absolutely dumb things. But everyone has that turning point when they're getting older, and so like when you hit adulthood, my temper is hella bad, but it's better now than it used to be when I was younger. Like,
Oh yeah. Kids have helped temper my temper.
oh, I bet.
I've learned, a lot of patience and just. I mean, it's
Now,
when you have four, it's you've got to learn.
now when
Just
you
kind
when you look at your kids, and this is a good question I've asked other parents, right? Have you ever looked at one of the kids and you're just like, oh man, that's me. Like that was me at that age.
of. Every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So even though two of them aren't genetically mine, but yeah, they still get included because it's like weird. It's
You see it
like
though.
I'm starting to believe that if you live with someone long enough,
Mm-hmm.
especially like children to like with an adult or a parent figure, it's like somewhere slowly, like I swear to God, I could go get a DNA test and they'd be mine.
Yeah.
I guess being so young, they just kind of pick up
Mm-hmm.
traits, and they just kind of evolve within to be more like, I guess, a model, after you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I'm like, oh yeah, I look at every one of them and I'm like, oh, I'm dealing with myself. Lord save me.
Mm-hmm. And you look at them and they do these things, and especially when they're trying to be sneaky, and thinking they're getting away with something, and you're like, I've seen this sign before. Like,
Oh
son,
yeah.
daughter, I have done this. Back away. Yeah, don't.
I had that conversation more than once. My oldest daughter, especially, I'm like, look, you haven't learned. You get caught every time. Why? I'm 10 steps ahead. I've done it all. And then some. And add some more on top of it.
Right,
And then guess what? My brother did some. My sister did some. I've been there.
right.
Yeah, that's,
It's,
but, just like we did when we kids, we kept pushing.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We don't learn. We're going to keep trying until that one time happens. We don't get caught.
And it's funny too, because when you're that young, you think you're being like super stealth, like really, like you're
Yes.
some kind of spy master or some shit. And then you get older and you're looking back like, God, I'm stupid. I'm surprised I didn't get killed or something. Just stupid shit we do. And then you see it like my eldest was doing stuff, and I knew that he was up to something, and I just waited because I was like, let's see how he hangs himself on this because I know he's lying to me, and I hate lying. Oh, I hate it. But I just kind of had to stand off because I'd question him, and I'm watching him do all the same shit I did at his age or younger, lying, trying to pretend, oh no, things are fine, and then all shit broke loose, and I just kind of sit back and went, well, looks like it's gonna be a long grounding for your ass. Um, but it's like they don't. There's those moments, and then there's other things that like my daughter. It's very odd. I don't know if you had this with any of the kids, but like for example, with because me and my eldest bond a lot with like comics and Star Wars and things like that. My middle son is more into video games. I mean, the two boys are very much into those things, whereas my daughter, she picked up naturally, and I don't know where it came from. I did not instigate it. I didn't because I let you let the kids figure out themselves too. You don't just go, well, I want you to be this way or whatever. But she's very, very like artistically inclined, and my mom, uh, bless my mother's heart, with love though, with love, is that my mother was the ultimate crafter, and she was, I mean, she's since passed, but my daughter never got to meet her. This is what's really bizarre. And my mother was so obsessed with arts and crafts, like since I was a kid, and I absolutely drove me crazy. I was like, I don't give a damn about any of this. She was into toll painting, silversmithing, bead making, glass making, scrapbooking, genealogy, toll painting, regular painting, cross stitching, crocheting. It was out of control, and this went on like for decades. And so my daughter has picked up this type of design. It's like she is almost like a copy of my mom, and it's really bizarre. Like her obsession with like arts and crafts, like and just like things that like I am not even pushing on her at all. She's just naturally inclined to. And kids have a way of doing that though by nature. Have any of your kids had that moment though where you're like, how would they? That's so weird. They picked that one thing up. You know, like something not necessarily pushed by any means, just something they picked up maybe through osmosis. I don't
Yeah,
know.
again, my son and my daughter, my oldest, they do quite, periodically, pretty regularly actually, just kind of like they're like me, they just absorb random interest and like run with it for a while.
Hmm.
And it's like there's some things I do with them that, like, craft stuff or hobby wise, and then there's just stuff that I haven't gotten to with them yet because I just don't think they're quite old enough to keep interest,
Right.
stay focused. It's kind of like like my son. I've tried with the whole handyman construction stuff, and it's like, 10 minutes in, stop playing, get over here, do what I told you to do.
Right.
I'm just bored now, I don't want to do this no more. Okay. But yeah, quite regularly they just absorb. And like I said, I don't know, it's so weird with the world today, where those inspirations and um you know like outside influence,
Right.
with these other kids or school and stuff, because I mean everybody's just so random.
The things that they get interested in are kind of like off the wall, like little things. My daughter, like, she goes on YouTube, and watches like different projects people do as far as like whether it's with toys or um, there's like certain people she loves like cookies, swirls, stuff like that. Drives me crazy, but she loves that kind of stuff, like the toy unboxing stuff, which is both
Yeah.
bad and good for Santa. And but then she's into a lot of like the crafting, like how to draw stuff, and she got into that for like ever. So she was drawing this, drawing that, and she plays like, what is that game? Animal Jam. She's on there all the time, and she's always making art in the game. And I'm like, this is all like stuff that she's just kind of picked up. And I was like, my husband was saying to me, he's like, this is you. I'm like, that's creepy though. It's really creepy in a sense because my middle son has no interest in arts and crafts. Like, he absolutely doesn't give a damn. He'd rather go play video games. That's his favorite thing in the world. He likes designing his own video games. He likes language and things like that, like learning other languages, and that's where his brain is. And the eldest is like everything in my personality that, like, if I were a male, I guess. in personified, which is both bad and terribly. It's terrible in a lot of ways. I'm like, oh my god, this is out of control. But it's weird how they pick up these little traits though, and it's very interesting to see how they develop, and it'll be very interesting, especially as they get to adulthood, and
Yeah.
to see the kind of people that they're gonna, or the choices, that they're gonna make. Um, and for a long time, my eldest wanted to go into the military, and then he decided, I want to be in fire department. And then he was like, you know what, maybe I should go into paramedic school first. And I'm like, okay, because he had a lot of friends he spoke to that were firemen. And they were like, you should look into paramedics and things like that, and get kind of giving him guidance on the best line of work to go into first, to get himself cutting his teeth first, so that way he can get prepared for other stuff that'll come later. And he made all these choices, within a window of time, and I was like, okay, well, I remember back when you were little, you wanted to be in the military. He wanted to be in the Army or Air Force, and that all
Yeah.
changed. So yeah, it's interesting how those things change very rapidly.
It's my son too, especially. He's big on. I want to go in the army, Daddy. Okay. It's like,
It's cute because like we have what do you call them? The school. I don't know if you guys have school memory books or anything like that where you can write down, like their teacher names and they throw all their classwork in something, like a folder. Um,
we just keep boxes.
yeah, I was gonna say you probably have the boxes.
With these kids, we just got like a box or a tote up in the attic. It's like, all right, this is for you.
Right.
Um,
I have a huge chest and like a bunch of box. I've been trying to like move everything and get it all like separated out for each one of them, and then I have like their baby books and crap, but I have like school books that I also have set aside and shit. But I'm behind because I honestly do exactly the same thing. I'm throwing it in a box. It's starting to look like I'm hoarding, but especially when you have more than two, things get really complicated. So
yeah.
I'm like, you had that third one in or the fourth one in. You're like, well, now it's a potluck. Now you have so many boxes and you're trying to determine who drew what and what homework this was from and whatever. But it's interesting how quickly the kids grow up. But have any of your kids? This is the other question I was going to ask you. Or have any of the kids wanted to go on and make their own YouTube channel? Have they had that, or are they already on there doing their own
My
stuff?
oldest daughter did.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that was. It kind of plays into everything else that's been going on. Like she's been trying to make like these leaps and bounds when it comes to like social media, and it's all in the wrong ways. And
Oh. Mhm.
um, I know at one point she wanted to do like a JoJo channel because she really likes JoJo.
Mhm. Mhm.
She wanted to like do her little show because she's always getting JoJo stuff, new JoJo, but it was kind of like a JoJo shop, kind of like we're gonna talk JoJo and show off all my JoJo stuff and all the new upcoming stuff. And
Right.
my son, he did for a little bit, but then he's like, it's so much work, Daddy. He's like, I don't think I'm old enough to. He's like, I don't think I'm old enough to do that much work right now. It's like sometimes I just want to be a kid, and that's a lot of work. I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
and because I've sat him down out here with me before, and I've worked on videos and edited and stuff. I'm like, look, he's like, oh my goodness, it's so overwhelming. Yeah, my oldest daughter, she's like, hey, I do a lot of that stuff at school, so
Right.
yeah.
It's
She's got the computer class she's in at school, and
okay.
basics and
And that's the thing is there's so much more pressure now on kids, right, to have like social media
oh
and
my god,
it's
yes.
I mean my daughter is she'll be hold on, I'm a terrible mother. 11 in December. And she's been trying to get me to let her get like make a YouTube channel, and I've been very hesitant and like very, I'm being the mom, man. She's a girl especially, and I'm not trying to be like a hater, but girls just have just as boys do have to be careful, and that's why it's if and when she does, it'll be like very heavily what do you call it chaperoned because there's just too many things that could accidentally occur where it might put her in a position or in jeopardy or harassed or you know in a sense being targeted unnecessarily, and you always get that paranoia for your children. We're like, careful what you're putting out there. You just don't know sometimes who your audience is. You have to be aware. You're like, this
Yes.
conversation sounds familiar.
All too familiar. Everything I've been pretty much experiencing for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks. Yeah, it's.
And without, I don't want to prod into too much of that because I know it's private, but what was her reaction to that conversation? Did she understand what you were saying? Like, you and your
And
wife were explaining to her about, the dangers of things and like the online presence.
in one ear and out the other. Typical
Yeah.
kid stuff. I mean, it's, you know, you can see it when they just go blank. You can just see you're
The
wasting your
eyes
breath.
glaze over.
But then it's like, oh well, comes a time I've got to let you go see the other side, young lady. You don't want to listen to me? Well, I'm going to let you go witness it. I'm going to let you go see it. You don't want to hear words, and it was a tough parenting choice to have to make. there the past couple weeks where, you just have to let them go and not be in your home for a little bit and go somewhere where they can see,
Mhm.
and they can understand where that road's going to lead you to if you go down the wrong. Because it is, man, social media and young girls, it's a huge slippery slope.
Mhm. It is.
Um, you know, and not just because of societal pressures on young girls at that age, like especially like 11, 12, 13.
Yeah.
Of who you should be, what you should be. I mean, you've got like Jesus. I had to explain this to my mother, and it was just a weird, awkward conversation because like my mom's in her 60s. She's closed minded in a sense. She's got a narrow vision when it comes to kids and girls today because it's always about, oh, well, when I was a kid or when you were a kid, and I'm like, no, things have completely 180. This is not the same.
Right.
And then I explained like the whole thing, and I don't know if you're familiar. I think we've talked about this before, like in
Mhm.
passing, but the whole period party thing. It's like
Yes.
my daughter comes home with it. Well, Daddy, where and when you gonna throw me my period party? What? Like, are we now celebrating the period? Like, I'm gonna have grammatical periods like, all over my house or something? Kind of
Oh my
like,
god.
I like in my mind because I'm rationalizing. I'm like, I didn't think to put that two and two together. She's like, well, all my friends at school, they've gotten theirs. Their mom threw them one to celebrate them becoming a woman, and I'm like, all right, so now moms are basically pressuring their daughters into growing up too fast by celebrating this becoming a woman through parties like this, and then I'm
Son.
thinking like how
You're
predators think,
yeah.
especially like if you see somebody posting on social media or something, oh, my mom threw me a period party. You're going to have some weird freak predator come along and be like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't know if you've heard the term. I'm not going to say it out loud because it disgusts me, but
Yeah.
yeah, you open those doors. And these girls, they don't really think about that. They're just like, oh, cool. I'm
Right.
doing what all my friends are doing. And then all of a sudden, you've got creepy fuckers just popping up left and right,
Oh,
saying
I
the
heard
most
you're a
weirdest,
woman.
just
Right.
awful shit.
Mhm.
And it's
See, that's
they're
I've
so
heard about that.
influential, but not by parents. That's the problem. These
Mhm.
kids are so influential, but not by the parents, by everybody else, social media, everybody online, their friends at school, their teachers,
Yep.
their curriculums.
And
And it's like,
it's a tidal wave of it. It's like it's
oh,
almost
when
nearly
it rains, it pours.
oh yeah. And girls like I was trying to my husband and I have talked and like he's okay, my daughter's going into that. She started this I would say this last year, the tone. Like I can tell when she's being uh, just being an ass. There's a tone. There's a little female tone that comes out, and I recognize it because, hey, I know. But she was getting these tones with people, and my husband doesn't. He wasn't understanding. I told him. I said, because she got her like, not to go into TMI, but like she got her first training bra a couple years ago. Okay, which was, for some girls, they need them, they don't, whatever. Um, but she needed to wear one and all this stuff, and he's freaking out slowly. You can actually see it happening in slow
Yeah.
motion because this is his first daughter. We've had the boys, but it's very different with a girl. It's just totally another world. And so I told him, I said, she is going through she's getting ready. She's entering that hormonal stuff. It's starting. And she got a tone one day, and I caught it. It was like boom. I couldn't help it. It was like a natural reaction. You hear it. Like I'm sure your wife has had those moments where you're like, I mean, you pick up on it, but sometimes the mom female will catch that tone, and they're like, "What was that?" Like, but she got a tone with him, and I called her out right then and there, and he was just like, "What was that?" And I said, "She's starting she's starting to get into that hormones. She's starting to get a little mouthy." And I said, "Don't worry, you'll see it." Sure enough, man. Fast forward a week later, she's crying because she doesn't like her pants are too long, crying about pants, jeans. This was like last year. They were too
Yeah.
long. And he was like, "Why are you upset?" She's like, "My pants are too long." Her pants were too long. Her pants, they're just jeans. And I just looked at her. I said, "Go change them." And she's like, "Okay." So she goes and changes the pants. My husband's looking at me. He's totally confused. Deer in headlights. He's like, "What the hell?" He's like, he had like three sisters. He was the middle son. There was two young girls, and has had an older sister. But he does not remember this type of stuff because he wasn't like involved in all of that daily life. When you have that many siblings, you just kind of put up with each other, I guess. But he was just like, my God, I didn't realize it happened like this. And I'm like, the girls are developing sooner too. So like hormonally, I think more girls are starting their periods earlier. And
Yeah,
whether that's the food, whether that's the environment, it's feeding into that. And
growth hormones, man.
yes,
Like
absolutely.
Jesus, it is. It's like I sit there and used to laugh off growth hormones, but
Hmm.
watching how my kids are evolving so quickly, it's like my daughter's, body changes and hormones and all that, that particular onset. And it's like,
Hmm.
God, this is so early. Like, I mean, she was just barely 12.
Right.
I mean, like, I maybe only by a couple of months.
And
And then it's like my youngest son, Hunter, he's only 2. The boy's already 36 inches tall and 34 pounds,
yep.
wearing size 3T shorts, pants, and shirts. And I'm like, God, this is like growth hormone ain't no joke.
No, it's honestly, it's shocking. Like, my daughter, I noticed a lot more in her because my other two boys, like, when they were little, yeah, they were gonna have a little bit of chub on them. Well, at least the middle. But
Yeah.
with her, I mean, she just developed like nothing. Like she gained the weight, because the girls gain the weight a little bit because they're starting to develop a bit, so they get that little tummy and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, it's like she's having to have bras. She's still getting all these, like, she's crying over random shit that doesn't matter. I'm like, oh my God. And
Oh God, the mood
it,
swings.
the mood swings are so like out and random. It's like some days I'll have like one of the kids will come and get me and go, um, her nickname is Hoagie. He'll say Hoagie's at the table crying. I'm like, about what? She can't find her marker. I'm like, oh my God, are you
Oh,
serious? Are you
I would be in
serious?
here working on a video. All of a sudden, it's just chaos. And I go and I was like, "What is going? I don't know."
Mm.
Angel's angel right now, and I'm like, "Oh man!" Like, and it's over the weird. Like her sister might say something, she just happened to take it slightly the wrong way, or or hell, she'll
Oh.
just be sitting on the couch thinking, and all of a sudden, I'm like, "Oh, I'm out. I'm out. I'm going outside.
And,
I'm not in this."
it's freaking hilarious because, like, what was it? It had to have been a couple years ago. This is when, because the hormones start pretty early, like the moods start, like the crying.
Yeah.
And my husband was he went in the kitchen and he sees my daughter on the couch. She's looking at a video on her phone, or because she has like a house phone that stays here. Basically, it doesn't actually call out. It's just one of those ones for like games and shit, and YouTube. And she's sitting on the phone, and and he notices that she starts crying, and he's like, "What's going on?" And she shows him. It's a video of "In the Arms of an Angel," and it's cats singing the song. And I was like, "Oh my God, don't!" And I'm like, "Just take the phone away from her." like,
See, that's the weird thing about my youngest daughter. My youngest daughter doesn't have the same diet we all have. She eats different food. It's weird because it's like I always have to cater to her taste because outside of like simple stuff like spaghetti or whatever, she doesn't eat what everybody else does. She's not like a big red meat person. She's not. So she eats a little bit healthier, more fruits and stuff.
mm-hmm.
And she's still so little.
Oh,
I mean, for her age, I mean, she's tiny. She doesn't really. I mean, probably weighs 10 pounds soaking wet.
how old is she?
She's 8.
Oh my God. Well,
I,
well,
I had her on the stream one time. I mean, you saw her. She's just
did I might
and
have.
it's
I'm trying to remember. I remember your little
whole
one.
hormones thing. I'm like, if these kids are getting this set of diet, and I'm like, my son, my oldest son, he's bulk. Like,
He's
boy,
stocky.
he is just mass. Like, you wouldn't think it when you look at him, but you try and pick him up or something.
Yeah.
It's like, Lord, kid, you're like 12 packs or 12 sacks of potatoes rolled into one. And
And
I
he's
think
2. When does
the
he turn?
growth.
When does he
Sorry.
turn 3? When does he turn 3?
Or no, Hunter turns 3 next May.
Okay, so next May.
Gabriel's the same way he is. It's just mass, like,
Stocky boy.
getting tall, just like, and not like he's not fat. He's just husky. He's got,
Yep.
he's a brick house. Like, I'd like to put the boy in football as the linebacker, but he I don't know how he'd take to that because he's like, I don't know about physical violence. Like,
and the thing is too, as a boys, they go through that phase. like I know with my middle son, my eldest son has always been, he has a thyroid, so thyroid issue where I think it's hyperactive or underactive. I have to remember again. I'm such a terrible parent. He just got diagnosed with it finally, but um, he has always been a skinny kid since he was a baby. So I didn't get that rubber band baby, when they're really fat and they're just so cute,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
you
I
know,
know it's a shot.
the rubber band babies. And he was never one of those babies. He was just this lean boy ever since he was like a kid. And as he got older, he got his height, and then he's just like he's built very much like my father, very tall man. Not as tall as he'd like to be. He's a little pissed at me about that. That's not my fault. That's genetics. But um, he uh, he never got that. He got some weight on him, and then he just never really it never filled in. Meanwhile, my middle son, he did that stockiness. So he went from being like bulky, not necessarily fat, just stocky because he's filling in, and all of a
Yeah,
sudden his height came in. Now his height is still he's still pretty small for his age, but the height's coming in, and that's what I kept telling. I have a nephew who he got stocky and he wasn't gaining that height, and he was worried he was overweight, and he got picked on a little bit, and I was telling him, I said, you're gonna fill in. What's gonna happen is you're gonna get tall, and all of a sudden all of that weight you had is gonna fill you in as you get taller. It's just like a cartoon, and he just it was it's just different. He filled out very different. Every boy fills out very differently, but
yeah,
it's for girls, like when it comes to that weight gain and weight, there's a lot of pressure on them. I kind of agree with you. Like I noticed that like my older my mom had a struggle with this, and I've always been like at least understanding of how the internet works, meaning what's going on the internet, even if it's stupid memes, um, having a general working knowledge of like what's going on in the world, even if it's just like an hour or two at night when I'm just scrolling around, I'm just seeing what's going on,
yeah,
what's buzzing, I guess, and then looking at news and shit. But you have to stay, as a parent especially, it's so important to understand how the internet works. So like with my dad or with others who are older, I'd say they don't, even people my age, which I don't understand this you have to have an understanding of what's going on in the internet. You don't need to know every fucking meme in the world, mind you, but you do need to know what the hell's going on because it does affect your kids and how they interact at school, like what trends are going on that might be a danger or put themselves in a bad position, whether that's on
yeah.
Instagram or Facebook or
Well,
YouTube.
see, we as parents, we're savvy, and that's one thing. If I can stress to anybody,
Mhm.
be on top of your kids as much as you can be,
Yeah,
because any downtime is bad time. And I mean, like in the
that's
sense that,
true.
like, if they're off, just kind of doing whatever, check up on them.
Mhm.
Hey, make sure, because I mean, all too often, my kids have been like, "Oh, I'm doing this," when you find out they're doing that.
Mhm.
Like the whole thing with this shit here recently. Oh, I'm upstairs reading, or okay, I had to use the bathroom. I was in there for a little while. I had to do my girl business. Okay, come to find out, they're doing pictures or videos or
Oh.
whatever on their phone. And these
Mhm.
kids today, they don't stop and think of little shit. Like for example, every picture you take now is geotagged.
Yep.
So all these freaks have to do is get your picture, get some software, load the picture, bam. They're reading everything Facebook reads when it says, "Oh, were you in such and such location when you took this?"
Yep.
My daughter's like, I told her that, and she's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "They can come right straight to where we live.
Correct.
It's tagged with all this information embedded in the file of the picture." Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, and make sure your kids are educated to stuff like that because
Mhm.
it helps curb action. It'll make them think twice.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And they have to understand like the dangers of that, and that's why it's like so important to understand like the inner workings of the internet, like when you interact with people and being able to make a good judgment call is more difficult on the internet than it is like in, real life per se, right? But you still common sense is what'll protect you. You don't give personal data. You don't post reveal. Okay, I do have a story about revealing photos in teenagers. Um, Eldest and his girl they've been together at that point a while, and there were photos that they were exchanging inappropriate, okay, between a couple. Keep that in mind. Um, but when I caught wind of it, I was like, no, 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 no. There was too much liability involved with it. I,
Oh
I
yes.
went after both of them, and I talked to both of them, and I talked to them, both of them like I would, like she was my kid. I'm like, listen, as a female, women, and this is not being sexist, I'm being honest. Women have a lot more to lose when that stuff happens in so many ways. Men, yes, but it's not nearly as bad as the stigma that comes from, let's say, a photo that's too revealing, being leaked out, being put on the internet, and it's almost nearly impossible to get rid of. And on top of it, it can hurt you a lot. I mean, it hurts everyone to some great extent, but you don't want to become a meme. You don't want to be someone's porn. You know, there's so much liability. And I told him, I said, you have a lot more to lose here. He is a moron by every stretch of the word. I said, but you have to think more logically. I said the whole like you lost my respect bullshit. But you know, I told them both. I said, this is why you need to pay attention. I found it. What if like one of the other kids in my house had picked up, my eldest's phone and went to the
Yeah.
gallery by accident and saw this? What are you going to do? Some sex education? Is that what? Like, are these visual aids? I hope not. And she, of course, comes from a very conservative family, so this was like it blew her mind and it scared her. Obviously, that
Yeah.
and I said, you have to understand. If I could simply pick up this phone, anything that's on your phone is hackable and takeable, and you should always keep that into consideration, no matter what photo that is. It could and will be at some point possible for someone to grab that. So whatever photos you're taking, keep in mind that would you want someone else to see this? You know, you have to be careful, and you can't be doing this type of shit because it puts both of you at risk. And I don't want to see an accident because somebody left a phone open or for whatever reason their security features on their phone fail. I said the internet is too interconnected, and once you realize how powerful that internet is, it can take everything from you, and at the same
Yes.
time give you a lot. It's a give and take, but the risks are very high, and so for young women especially, like, and it's not trying to be sexist, it's just being honest. Like that's I'm very protective over my daughter about that shit because I've seen stuff happen, and it was by very minor things too. Not even like here's my boobies, check me out. Nothing like that. You know what I mean? There was no titty videos going on. It was just the fact that there were a female on the internet that can sometimes put a target on you depending on what you're doing and how you project yourself. And I've talked to other females on YouTube about this. I've talked to friends about it. There's a lot of people who are I would say between our age group. I know that you're younger than me, but we're still we went to school with the same people. So essentially, where they don't understand why it should matter to them how the internet works and the dangers that are included in it. All they know is I'm going to go to Facebook and post these photos or Instagram, you know.
Yeah. Huh. Fucking Instagram.
Oh man, that
Uh,
that's a
Snapchat too. You can fuck suck a dick. Snapchat. Sorry. Oops, you can edit that. I'm sorry.
no. I don't like Snapchat at all. I've never used
Like
it.
Snapchat needs to like start protecting themselves, man, and start using age verification,
Oh yeah,
or some way, like because it's happening all too often. And then it was like a door opened into my daughter's world, which opened a door into her friend's world, and it's like Jesus, this spider web's so far.
oh yeah,
It's like because she's using her little friend's mobile hotspot on her phone at the bus stop to do this too, and I'm like, we had to have a conversation with her. Like, do you know what she's doing? Like, maybe you should ask her what she's doing using your hotspot and how that can come back to haunt you because it's through your phone,
right,
which is registered, I'm pretty sure, to your parents.
right.
So, somebody shows up one day, don't be surprised.
Well, yeah, and especially with so many predators online. I mean, it's an easy market.
It's not like online and in reality. We just here where we live. I mean, in the last couple months alone, we've had 3 separate abduction attempts, like
Mm-hmm.
right around the corner. I'm like, God, this is just,
That's scary. And
it,
as a parent,
kids
it's rough.
don't look at that though.
Mm-hmm.
That could be the one that gets you.
Yeah.
Or hey, you're outside playing with your little sister. Who do you think they're gonna take? You or the little sister?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It's true.
we had to like have a really big heart to heart and real reality check talk with my oldest daughter about this, and that's where we just came to the decision that we've tried. We went through this a few months, not even a few months ago, about 2 months ago. It was a little incident to a month later, it escalated by like 10 times.
Yep.
So it was like, young lady, you know, talk is talk. You know, it's time to show you that we mean action. And we finally took her somewhere that was just like, you know, this is where you're going to be for a week. And, you know, you're going to get some help. You're going to do some group therapy with these older girls. And we went and visited her a couple days ago. And she's like, you are so right.
Mm.
These girls in here are like 16, 17 years old. I'm 12. I don't want to be that when I'm 17.
Right.
Like, yeah, you know, luckily we were able to catch it when we did
Yeah.
and help open her eyes up now. You know, she's like, I get to see the other side, and you know, it's all so real. And I'm like, yeah, we're not bullshitting you. Just like I'm on here, I don't sugarcoat anything to
Right.
my kids. I don't. That and you can't
No.
with kids today because it's like they create this. And I noticed your topic there with perp, and it's pretty much where it's going to go to the line between fantasy and reality.
Mhm.
You know, these kids develop this fantasy world in their head, you know, based on how they're explained and taught things, you know,
Right.
in life, like where you pander to your kids and you sugarcoat it and you spoon feed them. And, you know, as to where if you're like real with your kids and honest, and I mean, don't be like brutally, angrily
Right.
honest, like don't
No
like
need for savage.
overemphasize the truth, you know, blow it out of proportion. Just tell them how it needs to be told.
Right.
And you know, each kid's going to be different, so find a way to tailor it to your kid. But you know, just after this incident, I'm like, God, what, girl, what is this fantasy land you're living in right now with these lies and these stories and stuff you're telling these people and these like conversations you're going into? Like it's all fabricated. Like, when did you have two older twin brothers that died in a car wreck? Who is this person? I don't know this baby. Baby, did you have two other kids I didn't know about? Like
Oh my god. But
you
think
know,
of the
she's like,
stress it
well,
was.
that's, you know, I don't want to be me online. I want to be somebody else. And I'm like, yeah, that's where you're going to get yourself in some big trouble.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, and for each individual she was talking to, it was a different situation, a different story, different details. And I'm just like,
Oh my god.
God, these kids, they do to rationalize and to, I guess, fit in.
Mhm.
They'll tailor their life to whoever it is and make up whatever they need to do to make it a reality in their eyes and to these other people. And it's just,
It's dangerous because then you start it's like a personality issue. It's
yes. Then you
fragmenting.
start losing yourself because you really
Correct.
don't know. You really don't know which story you're telling today.
Mhm.
You're just,
And the internet is like like I was telling my eldest, I said, back this is back well before I let him even get us Facebook because I was very careful about technology. I was like, I'm going to introduce this as slowly as I can, without because I wanted to be able to introduce at least like kind of like I knew he was going to do shenanigans, okay, and bullshit, but I wanted it to be at an incline, at a certain level of still like managing it. And then eventually you have to let them go a little bit, because they're going to be adults. Um, but you can only hope the common sense you put into their head does kick in. Now, does he have his stupid moments? Oh, absolutely, man. But um, it was, for a while there, especially with how people pretend to be somebody else or, personify themselves to be a certain way. It's like,
yeah,
I make jokes about me being a squirrel, obviously not. But I,
yeah,
but I keep that separated in that way. But as far as like everything else, it's pretty much how I am in real life because I make my jokes and shit like that. But I'm quite aware of the interactions of other people. So like if I see that somebody has a persona, and I didn't realize how bad this was, like these virtual personas that people have. I didn't understand how someone could be that fake and then turn around and be a whole nother personality. And I was like, there's something wrong with this. I mean, it's one thing if you want to, obviously you're selling a brand or you're selling a product and you have a certain personality that goes with that product. I understand.
yeah.
but there are people who are really role playing to the point where the line is blurred between that reality and this the virtual persona where you can't tell the fucking difference between either one.
Yeah. And see, with my channel, that was kind of one of the things I thought about when I first pulled the trigger and started. Because I mean, you look around. I mean, there's some random people out there on YouTube to do some pretty weird random shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I get a kick out of most of it.
Right.
Like there's like this one horror movie reviewer. I gotta remember his name. But I just came across him randomly one day, and I'm like, this dude is amazing what he does, because he like wears this mask and he has all this like psychedelic tripped out stuff going on. He's running through the woods, cussing at Superman, or whatever. Like hilarious shit. But it's like, for me, I don't see that as myself, like being able to personify somebody else like that. Like, and that's where I've always told like people before, I'm a mind speaking, free thinking individual, because that's how I was raised. You know, and on my channel, I just kind of was basically like, it either has to be I'm not doing it, or take me as I am, because this is what I am.
Right.
I've tried to, what's the word?
What do you call it? Temper it down, or
Well, just to try and be as real as I could be, but not so blunt, I guess.
I guess go like the full professional.
Like okay, prime example. My old Captain Marvel movie videos that I used to make, my rants. I a week, 2 weeks later, I'd watch it and I'd be like, God, I must have been in a weird place that day.
Right.
And I'm like, oh. Then again, I find myself, I'm like, okay, now I'm trying to emulate someone else. You know, because of their content, and you know, and it's like, because I'm like, they're like, well, it was put out in the pipeline. Oh, Brie Larson that's where the bread and butter is right now, you know. And the harsher you are, the more attention it's going to get.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't really want that. I just need to speak my piece once and let it go.
Right. Because what ends up happening is you get this echo chamber of, that word is used a lot, but it's true though. I mean, like when a news story breaks out and then one person picks it up, let's say Neurotic does a video, it goes down the chain of all these different channels reacting to the same information. And it's like, listen, you have to look for news and topics that are off the beaten trail a little bit, so that way, like stuff I've run across, I'm just barely, I ran across like a couple weeks ago, and I'm just you're the same way. You'll find a news story, fast forward some time, and then all of a sudden, then it hits, maybe some bigger YouTubers where they pick up the story, and then once again, the echo chamber effect starts. And I understand everyone wants to provide a take, but I usually, like, for me, it's like the only times that you're probably going to take, next time there's a Star Wars trailer, yeah, I'll probably do another commentary with uh, Willie Pete about that. But as far as, like, doing a big video and getting into all that shit, it's going to be the same shit that everyone else is going to be saying it, I'm sure, at some point or another. I don't want to be a part of that echo chamber. For me, though, it's giving my own take on something specific to that, whatever that one thing is. And I think when people start, let's say, all reacting to the same shit, and you're hearing all the same responses, because, or maybe a couple are different, but most of the time it's trying to find your own footing that's more important than that shit. Because yes, it might get you clicks for that moment, but the way that the internet works is, whatever is hot tomorrow is dead the next day. It's very quick. And that's just like memes. You know how memes are outdated like nothing. So it's one of those things. I think the internet's become that very strange cycle, of just the same exact shit over and over again.
Yeah. See, that's the thing with YouTube too, man. It's like YouTube plays a part, because it's like one day they might be cool with something, the next day they're not.
Right.
It's so wishy-washy, and it's
you don't know what's gonna be, I guess, lack of better words, you don't know what's gonna work. You're like, is this gonna be okay today, or am I gonna get like a ding in about a month or two, even 6 months?
That too, God. Like, that's where I started, like, with the whole Bollywood thing. I'm like, okay. And I made it a point known that what I uploaded 2 months ago was free and clear.
Right.
I had to delete it to get rid of the copyright claim to apply for monetization. But when I try to re-upload it as an archive upload, it gets blocked immediately. And I'm like, okay, so what changed? You know,
Mhm.
how is it I react to the short version of a song in Bollywood and it's actually free, clear, and monetized?
Mhm.
Meanwhile, I make a second reaction to the full version of said song and I get a copyright strike and all this other bullshit with it. I'm
Right.
like, but yet you still haven't gone back and messed with the other video. Maybe because you didn't like what I said in this video or I said something in this video. And it
Mhm.
was weird because it escalated from T series to whacked out media. And I'm pretty used to getting claims by T series, YRF, Arrows, standard copyright owners in Bollywood.
Right.
To now, I'm taking on the largest media network controller in Asia that oversees T series, Arrows. And I'm like, so I went from the little man to the big man real fast. It was like I don't have the means to fight this.
No.
It's but it again, like I said, it's that basic principle where one day one thing's okay, a couple days later it's not.
It's funny because when I was going on with your channel, I had heard from a couple other people, gamers actually were having major issues with soundtrack crap in the game. In the game, okay, like getting copyright strikes for
Mm-hmm.
songs in the game as they're playing the game. Like there was, unless you go
Yeah.
and back and mute all that, which means you very possibly are going to be muting out commentary, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I'm like, this automated quote system, and plus, whoever's reviewing it, let's just give them a cookie if they have that. I doubt it. Um, is absolutely out of control, and it's actually gotten way worse. I want to say post Trump, obvious reasons why, because all these networks are coming in now. And they're like, well, we need our
Yeah.
money back. We need to get rid of
Well,
these people.
my thing is, if a game bought the license to use that song in there, if a company bought that license to use the song in their game, then you should be dealing with the game company, not the people that
Right.
sold the license to said company. And it's like, that's kind of one of the reasons I got away from doing game streams because I'd turn around, I'd stream, and then 3 hours later, I've got 14 different claims on one video because of the music that's been playing in the background that I didn't pay any attention to. So
Right.
it's a choice. Try and mute that, and like you said, lose commentary, or just turn down the audio for the music altogether, and then lose immersion experience. It's like
Yeah.
now
And
you're just
that's
playing, and it's like you're not getting.
I was telling a friend because one of the claims that he had was on the dark. Was it? This was a while ago. This is another friend I had, not on the UND channel, but another friend, and he had the same thing happen to his channel when it was on UND recently. That's why I just remembered this, because that's how stupid this is. But it was on the Batman Dark Knight, Arkham Knight, and
Uh-huh.
or the Arkham Knight one. And it was Warner Brothers tagging him, the music of Warner Brothers, tagging, going after them for that. And it was a copyright claim, and I was like, this is bullshit. So I was like, I'll have to mute it because I'm not gonna play this game with these kids. Like, this is bullshit. So we ended up muting sections, as on my other friend's channel, muted sections of it, and it got past that, and it was fine. It was out of the clear, but he lost some commentary. It's just dumb. I told him, I said, just play. When you play it, unfortunately, you're gonna have to mute the music. You just have to you can keep your sound effects. Just get rid of your music. And he was like, "This is so dumb." I'm like, "Thanks, Warner Brothers. Yeah, you fucking assholes. You need to fix your shit." But yeah, the automated flagging and things like that have been going on. It's gotten worse. It's
It
absolutely gotten
has
worse.
gotten worse. It's
I mean, some stuff you can get around, like other stuff absolutely can't. So like when we did the Star Wars reaction, I muted the audio. You just see the trailer. I have like an overlay over it. And I just kind of I have it. It's not like I'm not gonna play the actual trailer audio because I don't even want to challenge it. Because music and other random shit. So we just did like a stop and go of the trailer talking. Just scene by scene a little bit, because by then everyone had seen the trailer. It had been some time, but um, when we were talking about the next one when that comes out, how we're going to do that, and it's the same way. I'm just like, you can't. I don't. Even the images could get dinged in a sense too, because of how paranoid
yeah.
they're
I
getting.
mean, it's only a matter of time before they start going after whatever pictures you're using for thumbnails, or because
Yeah.
it's all subject to copyright, and that's all it takes is one person, especially copyright trolls.
Yeah.
These people that buy copyrights and just sit around and do nothing but run around and claim them and collect change off of them. It's
Yep.
it's either you're just completely original, or you run the risk of getting foobarred
Mhm.
and putting all that effort into something and not making money back on it. Even if you do change stuff, like mine. I
Right.
mean, you saw how mine evolved. I went from I'm just staring at something in the corner to I'm now actually doing subtitles. I'm making my video educational by adding subtitles where the original content creator never did.
Right.
Because that's part of it's educational. You're learning. You're experiencing something and learning like like other language, but like translated and stuff. And it was like I got to a point where there for a little while it was good. I wasn't getting dinged. To all of a sudden now they're like plucking 20 seconds out here, 8 seconds here,
Ridiculous.
40 seconds here. It's like, because they can't claim the video, but they can claim small snippets of the audio.
Right.
And it's like, oh, but you can't do anything to the audio. I've tried changing 4 or 5 different things about it, and it's still, it's just that algorithm is just getting so anal retentive. It's like,
Right. And it's little shit. And sometimes you're like, okay, you got me for 2 seconds. Okay. Like, and I was
yeah,
going through the reviews, it was like maybe 5 seconds here, 5 seconds there, 10 seconds. I was like, what the fuck is this? And it was because the system was automatically flagging these things for just small portions, not the complete, not even a song. It was just, it picked up certain notes. I don't even know. So I was like looking, I'm like, okay, like because it shows you, that does like the time stamps. So I'm like going through these time stamps of like 5 to 20 seconds, in some cases 20, if we're lucky, and they're bitching about these things. I'm like, this isn't even a song. This isn't even a minute, and it was really, it was like, it seemed like once that system got flagged to it, maybe for like a 10 or 20 second, I would say 20 seconds, that's when you started noticing this bombardment of all these different copyrights by maybe, whether that be that same person or multiple other ones. It was just like once that quote flag system algorithm picked it up, it was just slaughtered, with different copyrights. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And of course, then there's the challenge of question of, oh, should I even challenge this bullshit?
yeah.
Is it worth my time? Jeez.
And then it's like YouTube implemented that thing that they have 48 hours to respond, or YouTube's gonna unblock the video. And then, okay, 48 hours goes by, it gets unblocked. Cool. Another
Right back.
16 hours comes by and they've then come back and blocked it, again. And it's like, God, dude, it's too much hassle anymore. And that's where I've got to the point with my channel. I'm just like, the risk is no longer worth the reward here. It's a lot of wasted time and effort and work to go nowhere. And it's like, I don't care about the change or anything that it's making. It's just I care about the time that I've spent to put into this, and then it just, like I said, get blocked or go nowhere.
Right.
Or and it's a time bomb, because it might not happen now. It might happen in 3 days, 2 weeks, 4 weeks. Better expect at some point somebody's going to come across it and strike it or claim it. And it's like,
Yep.
And then whatever you did make is gone, because that automatically goes to them.
And it's all that work lost in time. And it's kind of like they're almost like having you run a marathon, so that way it can just come back again and beat you at the finish line every time.
So yeah, my advice to anybody out there that's working on a small channel: try to be more original. Find ways to do your own thing around this subject matter. Like reactions, I'm done with them in general.
Yeah.
It's just it's too much of a hassle, because you're playing with fire. You are literally using someone else's content.
Right.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts or ways around that, unless you can find some magical recipe or formula that works for fighting it. And you can do stuff for a little while. Like I was reversing the video for a little while. That worked for a little bit. And then it's like they caught on and they're like, oh, YouTube adjusted the algorithm to look for reverse video. Because then it was like, oh, but I'm
that's
just
the
at that
thing.
point. I'm like, I want to start going back and working on my reviews. You know, my content where I was doing the 5 to 10 minute reviews with the pictures and
Right.
the monologue, just something creative, different to me. Um, maybe a little bit more like reporting on stuff. There's just, I just, oh,
It's
to
funny.
start off like that, to go to where I did and then have to go back to that, it's like I got lost somewhere.
It really, it's like, it's one of those things because when you find that something works, it's so easy to go, okay, this works, and you just keep going. And then you get lost down the road and you're like, wait a fucking minute. Like, what happened here and why has this now become a thing? Like, the only thing. Um, you know, I do, when I do movie reviews, because I do a lot of older movies, obviously, they're not really, quote, the modern shit. And it's not always up everyone's, what do you call it, interest, but whatever. Um, I do movie stills. I never show any fucking, and I know eventually there's always, some of them I've like changed the way they look, some of the images, depending on what I'm doing, because I know that well, let's be honest, some of them are these copyright Nazis are going to be out there. Um, so I'm like, well, I'm going to go ahead and change some of these images. Some of these I won't because they're, more of like a public domain, and because of the age of them, it's not going to affect them as much. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you still have to kind of weigh what you're going to put into the video and what monologue or, because when I do a movie review, all of it is, well, I try to, I do an outline of it, and then I do write out what it, certain points and details that were researched for it, and kind of break it down, certain portions or actors that should be mentioned or whatever to get the dates right. But it's still this long amount of work, and it's like, I don't mind doing those, but I have to pay. I space them out. I'd rather talk to people a little bit and then, hop back into those again, and that way keep it going. But it's just, there's so many different channels that do so many like reviews and commentaries on, certain things, which I don't mind. But I think when you get stuck into that loop of the MCU, which could be forever, and Star Wars, which could be forever, um,
Yeah.
it gets old. And I'm like, and I love my Star Wars, but I know there's a lot of other shit that I've enjoyed. So it's like I go into other stuff, like, and really, once you find that footing of like what your interests lie in, then you just run with those, and I think, you've done it before. It's just,
Yeah.
like I understand though, having to take a step. Basically, it feels like a huge step back. It's not really a huge step back. You might have that moment where things kind of like you do see like a decline in views or in counts or subs, but then it'll increase again once it finds the audience.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing too with YouTube's fighting that damn exposure algorithm because it's like one day you'll be up here and the next day you'll be way down there.
Yep.
It's it's
And it's like,
it's not finite enough to like if you don't catch something right at the right moment, like I've experienced that in the beginning. Like I would catch trailers like within minutes, bam, 1,000 views.
right.
I catch a trailer an hour later, do a reaction, upload it an hour and a half after it dropped, boom, 50 views.
Yep.
Like, because you get swallowed. That's the other thing. YouTube is so vast. You are literally just a minnow in a sea
Oh yeah.
of other fish. And it's like you're all chomping at the bit to get there first. And if you don't get there first, you might as well just, well,
What's
be
funny?
happy with what you get back.
I have a friend who, like, he's still, he's starting to finally come back because, when the kids are out of school, it's just, let's just be honest, it's some hell. So things get really, um, chaotic and stuff. So he's going back in and he's, trying to get the channel up and rolling again. And he's like, I know that there's a lot. He got a little discouraged at one point, which is, it's going to happen because there's a lot of, let's be honest, fuckery to be found on YouTube. But he was just like, wow, there's so many gaming channels. There's so many review channels. It's
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable. I'm like, yeah. I said, but here's the thing. Be yourself. Like in the end, that's what is going to make it for you. It's about personality, it's about interaction. It's about, you know, just being yourself when you're playing, even if the game isn't that super exciting, if you were entertaining people,
Yeah.
it'll do it. Because I've watched people play games that were absolutely useless games.
Yeah, but it's so their commentary or their jokes or whatever it is, they're
Right,
monologuing. Like I'll sit here and talk and like monologue over with a
right.
complete like ad libbing this shit. Like whose line is it anyway?
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. And that's what
and,
does it, you know?
And to kind of touch base on that issue with Jeremy earlier, and the attempted facetious joke I tried to make, where I was actually throwing shade on YouTube as being monetized now, and seeing that side, like how it actually really works. Like people be like, oh, you get monetized, you make money, you get a check. No,
No.
you don't get a check till you hit your first $100.
Right.
And it's going to be a long ass time unless you're somebody huge,
Right.
because you barely get a fraction of a penny per view. And the shitty thing is, you're not getting paid per, like, say you have 150,000 views on a video, you're not getting paid for 150,000 views.
Right.
Only 15,000 of those views might be ad-based revenue views.
Right.
You know, they don't stick advertisements on each and every view. So, which that's where I was like, oh yeah, he spends an hour and a half making a video, makes $10, because I know his videos get 150, 300,000 views, and that's about what you would probably get for a video like that. It's $10, 10, $15. So if you're going to be on YouTube, and I'm learning, and you get to that point, and find external, and it's like the guy brought up, which I mean I was not oblivious to, you know, on the comments. Find like Teespring or like a sponsor or somebody
Right.
to help. And that's if you're actually out to try and make money, like a little bit of money on the side coming in, you know.
Right.
Find a third party way to bring in revenue. Find a way to create great live streams where people super chat to you or donate to your PayPal, because you're not going to make no damn money on YouTube Partner Program
Absolutely.
unless you're getting hundreds of millions of views.
Right.
You know,
And I
even a million views might only get you $40, but the odds of you getting a million views at a small channel is,
right.
you know,
and that's
slim
like,
to none.
I had talked to, you know, the guys one night, and I said, you know, I have, even if like my channel for whatever, God knows whatever fucking reason, did get to a certain point where I could be monetized, I wouldn't take it. And
I regret it.
the only reason why I didn't, you know, didn't want to take it is because number one, censorship and having that paranoia,
Yeah.
having shit being pulled or having some kind of mild melodrama or being on the radar, just for the sake of that. I was like, you know, I am more supportive of people doing like Patreon or Subscribestar or Teespring, and I was like, you know what,
Yeah.
you know, like on my channel, I decided because I do stuff. You know, I've been doing the graphic shit and all this other crap, and then all this stuff on the side, and helping different people out with different shit like overlays and crap like that. And they're like, "Do you have a donation link?" And I'm like, "Oh no." So I was like, "Well, I guess I could get one." So I did buy me a coffee. I did that. And then the other one I have is Teespring, because the joke was, my husband's like, we need to make some squirrel shirts, you know, just being a smart ass. And so I ended
Yeah.
up making the kids like we're gonna be ordering them soon, but like we made Halloween squirrel ones and stuff like that for the kids. And it was a joke, but then it ended up being awesome. So I was like, whatever, fuck it. And it was just outside means of going outside of YouTube also, because I was like, no, I'm never ever gonna. I don't plan on ever making money directly out of anything monetization. That's in my mind already established. Like that is never, not for me, because I was so I didn't want them up and telling me what I could and couldn't talk about.
Yeah.
You know, and that was
It
the
is.
part that got
There's
me.
that air of paranoia. And, you know, like I touched base on it in my video, the sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because if you're a channel and you're doing like particular content, you're gonna have to sacrifice a lot to make that application.
Yeah.
In my case, like I said, almost 1 million views, watch time, whatever. And it's not even so much of that. It's the countless hours of work. And like I had a library of like 250 videos that were made, and then like intricately and appropriately linked, like, you know how you do like cards and end screens and
Right.
you know that kind of stuff, that we're all like woven into each other strategically.
Right.
So, you know, one would lead to the next, and then that would generate more views, and then this would find, you know, they'd find that more video, or hey, that person's like, hey, react to this, but oh wait, look, he's already done it, there it is on the end screen.
Right.
To once I have to delete so many videos, I completely shattered all that and left a broken system. I now have other videos that have dead end screens that are going to no videos, cards that are going nowhere. And it's like there's no way I'm getting that back. Because those are all in the moment choices when you upload and stuff. You're like, okay, this is what's going to work best. Let me link to this one because this is pertinent, but it's still getting some drive. And then it's just, I regret it so bad.
And that's the thing is, I was like when I was like when I was working on Lee's channel, I was like, well, because that's why I didn't add cards or any of that shit at first. And I just, what I ended up doing, I think in the last, I didn't want to do. I'll be honest with you, I didn't feel like going back to all 200 plus fucking whatever and looking at anything, other than just making sure tags were up and thumbnails were there. And so when I was looking at adding on, like, let's say, next video suggestions or whatever, or linking to whoever on that panel was, to make sure that they, had a bit of you can go to their channel and check them out. Those are the things I added and just avoided the cards, because I swear to God, that's what my paranoia was, is what if that video on that particular card gets deleted? And because YouTube are Nazis. So what if they decided to, we don't want these videos, and they pulled them for numerous reasons. I just did basically, next, either the playlist for whatever specific video it was for, or the next video. But in the end, YouTube just can't be trusted, especially with all the bizarre copyright stuff that has changed. And there are little things now that they're doing that still don't make sense, and they give you a reason, and it's very vague. You're like, so you're guessing, if that's even a thing, or if they're just telling you this shit to make you, I don't know. It's a very much a corporate takeover. It's kind of bad. I think that, I think that a lot of this shit that's gone on is, do I think it's going to get better? I don't really know. I think it's just going to keep going that way. But why don't you let everybody know what you have coming up for your channel and stuff?
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of changes, but what do you have coming up? So if everyone, because I'll put all your description.
We're going to go back to movie and television news, like, pop culture stuff, like comic book stuff, just general. I'm going to start doing like recommend lists, like of movies that I've watched. Like this, I found this out on Moira's streams. Like I keep throwing movies out there, and you're like, dude, we've never heard of this movie, but it sounds so good.
Right.
And I'm thinking like, dang, recommendation videos, because I do watch some of the most random ass movies, and some of them turn out to be just pure diamonds in the rough. And I remember doing that early on in my channel when I would do streams. We would talk about, live discussion of like recommendations and stuff. And hell, we would go over trailers and do like, while I was live streaming, which again started getting me claims. And, but like I said, recommendations, more reviews. And seeing the other thing too was with the whole Bollywood shit, I started losing time. I no longer had time to watch movies or TV shows or stuff. I was falling so far behind on everything because I just, at the end of the day, I've invested so much time into that. I don't have it for this. And if I'm going to like start supplementing content, I have to have time for that.
Right.
And like, I've been playing catch up over the past few weeks and starting some new stuff, finishing some old stuff, that I want to start talking about. Cause I mean, there is some good stuff out there. There's some,
and there's, like, I think when it comes to nostalgia, especially, it's like, whether it's a terrible 80s horror, or it's something from the 70s, or even going, because, the stuff I look at is just random shit that I end up watching just because it looked interesting at the time. And there's a couple I have on my list that I have no fucking interest in whatsoever, meaning like I did not like them at all because they were shit. But I'm probably going to do those reviews, at least for me. Because the thing is, I treat it as fairly as possible, blah, blah, blah. But it's good to have that these movies sucked, this movie was good.
Yeah.
It's good to have that, not just everything you love, but having films that bottomed out, they didn't do shit for you,
See, that's too, like, everybody talks about mainstream movies. What's hot in the theaters? What's hot on DVD right now? And then it's like, there are some actually decent movies in the bargain bin, man.
Oh, yeah, there are.
or on the lower tiers of on demand or wherever it is you might be looking for a movie. Like, you gotta dig deep into Netflix, you'll find some pretty cool stuff. And I've looked around and I'm like, there's not many people actually reviewing or even discussing those movies.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that And that's another like bit of advice to like find that
Yeah.
thing that
Mhm.
that that you know you like that not really many other people
Right.
have
Absolutely.
material for. Like that's what inspired my new run of game controller modifications because I have a particular set of game controllers that's very popular,
Mhm.
but nobody's ever taken the time to mod them or bring knowledge to the world about them. As hey, these are cheap, great alternatives, but this is the possibilities that they hold as far as like customization and
Oh, see,
modding.
that's smart. Because yeah, I know with a modification, especially on you see it for computers, you see it for other
Yeah,
shit, but
like
controllers,
everybody will tell you how to mod a PS4 controller.
right?
You know, but hey, if you don't have $60 plus whatever material costs to spend to mod it,
Right.
you know this is a viable option that you know you can pursue and still have fun with.
And there's a lot of I think as far as with cheap alternatives, I think that's the thing is people get so focused on those brand name this and brand name that,
Yep.
and just spending outward a lot of money, $100 and something for some one controller that honestly, if they had like as I had come into the stream last night, Mora had her stream last night, and you guys were talking about Raspberry Pis, and those computers in general are fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that is probably the coolest thing. I first heard about a Raspberry Pi like last year or year before, something like that. Somebody brought it up, and people were using it because there were streamers, or better yet, they were just doing podcasts or they were doing news stuff. And it was like this perfect little system, affordable, doesn't take up a lot of space, and there was a multitude of things you could do with it, and there was this buildability to it where you could upgrade, downgrade, do what there was this open door policy in a sense of build your own computer minus all the bullshit. Like you don't need all the bells and whistles sometimes, depending on what you're doing. And if you do need them, hey, you can upgrade it.
Yep.
I love that idea, and especially with technology, how quick it's growing, and how their
See, I
systems.
want to get back into tech too. That's where I was
Yeah.
like, back when I first started my channel and I had my first intro and banner. That's what it was: movie and television, tech and gaming.
Mhm.
But I never did tech shit because I just at the time I didn't really
Right.
have an interest. Like I was like, I have a bunch of shit building up. You know, I'm collecting, and it's like, just at the end of the day, I don't really have the time to dive into it. You know, break out the soldering iron, the patience, whatever, whatnot, what have you.
Oh yeah.
So I dropped that, and now it's like, okay, I'm getting back into it. I want to bring it back, and just
Honestly, I find technology exceptionally interesting because it's fast and it's growing like Perp and I had talked about. Obviously, he and I got into we were talking about 5G. We were talking about the new phones, and I find certain parts of technology absolutely amazing, and others are just a waste. But I think it's interesting is we were talking about the rollable screens, the ones that are folding that is working on. Um, the rollable ones are amazing.
yeah.
And I know that's very simple technology, but at the same time, that can go into numerous directions. I mean, we should have already, honestly, we're well past when this should have been rolled out. So this crap, pardon the pun, this shit should have been out like years ago.
Yep.
That's how I feel. I feel like they're withholding technology just so they can market all this other crap that's quite useless in the
Well, they've
end.
got to get rid of surplus.
Right.
It's a trickle down thing that companies they buy this shit in so much bulk. They've just got it everywhere. It looks like the damn warehouse Spider-Man was trapped in home. Like
Right.
they just got bins and bins of processors and chips. So it's like we'll go ahead and do pretty much the same thing we just did, but add a new feature. That way we can exhaust old surplus, and then when that gets to a point that we're running out, we can now start unrolling new tech that, and it gives it time to mature. You know, bugs to be worked out. You know, better revisions made. I
Mhm.
understand that, but yeah, but recently it's like we've been Jesus in an 8-year stall with cell phones. It's like,
Yep.
oh, what's the best next thing we can do with a cell phone? Add more cameras.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's
What
like,
a useless shit. I'm like, I don't. I This is why I hate smartphones right now. It's like there's until something like I like the Edge. I had the Samsung Edge. I love that phone. But otherwise, like I haven't really been intrigued by anything outside of Samsung.
I'm still rolling with an S6 and happy.
Right. And
I
honest.
use it as a phone.
Right.
I mean,
I think this novelty of consumerism, it gets old, and people get like there's a few friends I know that are working in cell phone sales right now, and they just had their Apple, rollouts. They're doing all the pre-orders and shit like that the last week, and they're dead. They're not getting very many orders at all, and this is several different locations through the United States. So it's very interesting to see it from a perspective of sales, and they work at different providers,
Yeah.
and they're just not selling these phones. I'm like, yeah, because it's this, and this happened last year too for the iPhone. It people you get a couple stragglers, but who the fuck wants to spend $1,000 on a phone just for the novelty? Just for the there's
That's the
nothing
thing.
you know.
Now, if you have like just some absolute average run of the mill phone and you need a new phone, you want to upgrade for a bit faster,
Right,
response, some newer features, and you got the money, all for it, man. Go do
right,
you, boo boo.
right.
You're not gonna catch me dropping $2,000 on an iPhone. Fuck that.
Yeah,
Not when I watch videos where dudes are going to China and making their own for $75.
right. Because
Like that's the thing. It's like, we're getting savvy to your ways, Apple and Samsung. We know it only costs you less than $100, but $1,300 later,
right, and that's the
and then
mhm.
inflation from whatever carrier you're leasing that phone through. It's ridiculous. It's all a game with making that money because we can overinflate the price of the phone, then charge you rental and leasing fees and other stuff on top of that.
Yep.
It's all a money making system.
Yes, it is. And in the
It
end,
got
they're getting their cash money in there.
like
you know.
if you remember, computers used to be the same way.
Right.
Like God, I mean, laptops used to cost you $4, $5, $6,000. A desktop would cost you a couple thousand, and I mean for just the menial, just average run of the day shit. And now all of a sudden, computers got to a point. It's well,
Oh.
laptop costs you $300.
Mhm.
Desktop you can build for under 1,000, and you know there's no more CompUSA and all them places leasing computers, and
Right.
it's like Rent a Center got out of the computer business a lot. Like they've got a few, but they used to have a lot.
Yeah.
Because they're like, why pay the inflation for something I could just go spend a couple $100 on?
Right. I remember that. I mean, like, and the thing is, you can get nice gaming laptops for very affordable prices
Yeah,
compared to like how they used to be. And
hell, you could buy a whole gaming laptop for the price of a high end GPU now.
yes, yep,
It's like,
it's true. I mean, and it blows my mind because I had to replace the laptop last fall, and because I pushed that other one till the last, I just push it. I'm pushing until that thing will. I guess I have a
yeah,
regular desktop. We have two desktops, and then we have a laptop. But my laptop is like my baby. I can't help it. So when it died, I was like, all right, I have to get a new laptop because a fan, everything about it was gonna explode. So I got one. It was a used one. The guy worked at Best Buy. He had actually ordered it. It was my brain, the Omen, HP Omen, and very nice computer. $500. I was like,
yeah,
sold, sold. Hell yeah, because I my desktop when I bought it was about I think six. It's a gaming desktop, and this was
yeah,
years ago, and it's still fine because I upgraded. It had the ability to be upgraded. So I'm like, I'm just using the tower at this point, and and I, that's I'm more preferable to that than I am, going out and spending $1,500 on a pre-built system that you can't do shit with except, hope it just lasts, and then when it does, you just throw it out because you can't take any of the pieces out of the tower because it's factory crap. So,
oh yeah, Dell's gateways.
mm-hmm.
It's funny because they start the saying for gateway because if you rearrange the E and the A, it's get away from the gateway because they were proprietary garbage. The fact that you couldn't upgrade unless you went back to Dell or
Yep.
Gateway and got their product and upgraded, and then it would cost you out the ass because proprietary.
Yep.
We're the only place you can get it. You can't just go to Micro Center or Circuit City or whoever it was at the time and buy a replacement part. It's like cars nowadays, OEM. That's their OEM.
Mm-hmm.
So you try and buy a new car part, and it's like good luck, pay out the ass or get a cheap generic
Right.
that may or may not still work.
Yep. It's true.
Um, and I'm so glad companies started getting away from that and embracing the custom market where people want to put in what they want to put in.
Right. Because you get some of these systems, and for me, I want to upgrade the video card and graphics cards. And what if I want more processor? What if I want a different processor? What if I want more
Yeah,
memory? And I want to be able to update the RAM. If I want to increase it, I don't want to have to worry about like, oh well, I can't do this because their system is basically like a chopping block. You can't do crap with it, you know. So yeah, like customizations and computers and having them built, but also having that working knowledge to keep them going is the most important thing with when you're building a computer. And I learned the hard way. You know, you learn. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
You learn the hard way, and you get your toolkit. You're good to go. Sit there and fuck with it and figure it out, and
Yep.
you'll get it. You know, and that's what I tell people. Like, it's not as scary as it sounds. It's just you need to have that working knowledge though as you go forward. You know, you
And
don't.
it sucks because I'm a member of a lot of computer groups. And what we had 10, 15, 20 years ago is now making its way to third world countries. And like
Wow.
you've got these people in the Philippines or wherever it might be that are this tech is still new to them, but it's trickling down. And they'll be all over the group like, I tried to buy new RAM, but it's just not working. And it's like, yeah, you have a Dell Optiplex like 220 that you have to go to Dell and buy their specific RAM.
Mhm.
That's expensive. Like, yeah, even third party sellers, it's expensive because they don't make it no more.
It's
You know, so
amazing.
it's like the rest of the world's starting to slowly feel the pain.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
for them, I understand it sucks because they got to scrape and pinch and save and bust their ass to make that little bit of money to
Mhm.
get these things.
It's true.
Whereas us, it was like, okay, we're just going to Goodwill. Fuck it. I'm tired of dealing with it.
Yeah, I feel you on that because I do get to a point where I'm like, yeah, this isn't gonna happen today. I'm not doing it. No, that's fine. We're gonna throw that ass to the
Yep.
sidewalk. I've thrown out entire like old like a computer that was on its last legs. I'm like, you know what? Why are we even fucking with this thing? Just throw it out. I don't know.
Yeah. Hell,
Ridiculous.
that's how I got my first Windows desktop. I was out trick or treating and found it on the side of the road on the trash pile. The guy was throwing it away. I'm like, and I was legit in a conundrum because I was like 12. It was like the last year we could legally go trick or treating, and I'm sitting there with my buddy, and I'm like looking at my candy sack, and then I'm like looking at his computer. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Halloween just got sacrificed. Help me carry this shit home now. And I got home, and I'm like, it works, but the hard drive was full.
Right.
So I was like, but it works. So I cleared the hard drive and I had a great system. And I went back and I saw the guy emptying, throwing trash out. And I was like, hey, that computer you threw away, why'd you get rid of it? Hard drive got full. So I just said, screw it. Didn't feel like messing with it and just bought a new one.
Oh yeah. I mean, the first computer we had in the house. Well, I had a Commodore 64, but that to me isn't the same. But when later on we got like a quote working desktop, that was more for like general like desktop publishing, fucking whatever AOL. But it was a IBM Aptiva, and that was a ridiculously expensive computer.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous. And was it nice? Yeah, it was a good computer. But I mean, it was definitely one of those computers that does not have the value at all that it had. The money and the value were not there, in my opinion. It was just obviously once again a chopping block. You cannot upgrade that piece of shit. It was a good
Seeing
computer though.
computers were a status symbol back then.
Yeah, yeah,
You weren't an elite household unless you had a desktop. And that's how it was all your friends, because your friends' little rich ass parents would have something. They're running around, I got this, I'm playing Doom, I'm playing this, I'm doing that. And then
yeah.
it's like, I need a computer, Mom.
Right.
Well, how much are they? $4,399.
Mhm.
Ha
Right. Yep. Like when we got that Aptiva, it was my grandma's one who got it for us. And I was like, "What the fuck?" Like I couldn't believe how expensive it was. I was like, "You gotta be kidding me! This is ridiculous!" Because it was around, I think it was around 4 grand. It was some crazy ass amount of money. That's all I know, and maybe a couple grand. And it's the computer was okay, but in the end, though, that was the beginning of like the desktop fascination with getting another desktop computer. So when I got out, I had my mom had like an HP. It was either an HP or a Dell or something, and it wasn't the greatest computer. But then after that, I became obsessed with learning how to upgrade your tower and how to like
Yep.
make your own. And after that, I was like, dude, I'm gonna do this. So a
Mm-hmm.
couple of my friends that had like all these, C plus certification, they're all into all that tech shit. They're sitting down with me and explaining the components and okay, well this is how you can install this. I'm like, that's it. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well shit.
Yep.
If that's it, then all I have to worry about is just making sure the software is compatible. Blah blah blah. That kind of crap. And then you figure that out. And a lot of
That-
it's just reading. And honestly,
oh
back then,
God, reading. I was about to say,
fucking
instead of YouTube, we went to the library or whatever
yes,
store. Like I would sit in the middle of Barnes and Noble with How to Build PCs for Dummies and just
Yep,
read.
dude. I remember
I'm
going.
not buying the book. I'm just reading.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'd go and I'd pick up those like because at one point I was gonna do C plus certification and do all that bullshit, and then I thought, no, I hate my life. It's cool. So I'll just go ahead and learn how to build a computer. So I go grab the hardback books or like the tech, tech.
Yeah.
They were huge books, and you'd sit down and they'd break it down like each component and like why those things matter and all this simple shit now that you can Google, of course.
Yeah.
But man, those were crazy days. Looking back on it now, I'm like, damn, that's nuts. So like, I still talk, like the tech build crap, and sometimes because of different computers and what now the computers were permit, I usually tell people, I'm like, just get a new tower. I'm like, just get a new fucking tower. That computer's a piece of shit.
Yep.
You just can't work with it. But anyway,
See, and
yeah, go ahead.
that's where my first under the table job came in. Because I'm like, this shit's expensive. Yeah,
Yeah.
my dad's not paying for it. So I went and got an under the table job washing dishes in a restaurant. And every damn payday, my ass was at the local computer shop, talking shop and buying whatever I could buy out of the bargain bins like they would have that week. I'm like, I can't afford, unless it was like, I remember buying my first brand new graphics card. And that was so I could play Final Fantasy VII on PC. And I was like, I was so proud because I mean that shit was like God. I mean, you think $400 today gets you a Debo ass Vega 64,
Right.
or hell an XC Ultra 2070 for EVGA. And back then your ass got like 4 GB or 4 MB of video,
Right.
8 MB of video.
It's amazing how fast it's gotten and like affordable at the same time.
Yeah,
Terabytes and shit, and you're like, oh, I can get
I'm like, oh, I need to go spend $200 for an 80 MB video or hard drive
right.
for this game.
And that's the thing that's insane is how much I don't know. All these things with tech has absolutely exploded. Like to me, as far as
It's so hard to keep up.
yeah, like I'm always like like I hear about a new system or a new rig, right, that people are trying to pull, and I'll go and look at it. And I'm like, holy shit, when did this come out? Last year? What the fuck? Like I had no
Yeah,
idea it even came out. I'm like, what do you
like
mean?
like 8K. All of a sudden we have 8K. Hell, I even saw a 16K. They unveiled a 16K's like 700-inch fucking screen.
Why 16? Like this is like extreme shit. Like some of those.
Like we just got 4K mainstream. Can we slow down, please?
And at some point, is it going to be beyond human ability to see? Like, like how much of a difference are we really going to see? At some point.
Next step, you're standing there while they're making the movie.
Exactly, you're pretty much in VR. Like at
Yeah,
that
that's
point.
pretty much it. And it's like with phones too. It's like slow down.
Yeah, the phones are
Let
out of control. I'm like, God, man. Well, I want to thank you so much though for hanging out and talking and stuff.
no
I know
worries.
we both got it. I have to get going for my kids, and you have to get going for your
Yep.
kids.
They
Yay,
just
kids.
walked in the door and yay, kids. Hey, it make me a better person.
Exactly.
They certainly do. We might be going gray, but
Yeah, it's true. Might be getting more gray hairs in by daily, but at least we'll make it to a certain.
ha! I like a month and a half ago, I did my first Just for Men.
Oh, did you?
And then I would start making videos and I'd watch my video and I'd be like, oh my God, that looks so awful. I'm like, because the color wouldn't be the same. It'd just be all dark and prominent. And like people were noticing, they're like, dude, what's different here? There's something different. We can't peg it.
You're like,
And then I'm like,
oh my.
yeah. As an aging man, leave Just for Men alone. It makes it worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then you're just looking at yourself like, I'm at that point. I have to fake it.
Yeah. My husband calls them wizard whiskers because some of those you can't. They just won't hold. He was coloring it for a little bit because he doesn't have like he shaves his head, so the bottom part he'll color it every now and then, and it always looks way darker. And he's like, God damn, this looks terrible. I'm like, just
Yeah.
your whiskered
Yeah.
wizard whiskers to be free. That's all I say at that point. But anyway, I'm thank you so much though for coming in today.
No worries at all. Thanks
Yeah,
for
I
hanging
appreciate
out and
you.
having me. And
Absolutely, and we'll hang out again soon. I know it, but yeah, it's just trying to get everybody nailed down. It was like trying to get everyone together. But anyway, I'll put Geek's links in the description box. There also should be some pop-ups that you guys will see on the screen there showing the name of his channel and also his
Awesome.
Twitter. So, but thanks so much, Geek. I really, really appreciate it. And to the audience, thanks so much for listening, you guys. You have a great afternoon.